Hey, my name is Wouter. I'm the founder and CEO of DecisionVault. In this video, I'll show in-depth, end-to-end, how to set up the DecisionVault Gavel integration and how you can use capturing information on the design sheet and then pushing it over into Gavel workflows and using it to generate documents. So let's dive in. So it starts with setting up a workflow in Gavel. And here we can build up several pages with variables. Actually, if you're going to push a lot of information, typically it's most helpful in terms of the end user experience to put all the variables the DecisionVault is going to push in the first page. It'll be a little long, but it'll get filled in by DecisionVault. So then when the user runs the integration and pushes the information over, then they can just scroll down that first page, verify that everything is there, and click next, and they don't have to click 15 times, right? If you split it up into all sorts of little pages, you have to scroll down, hit next, scroll down, hit next. So that's the first tip on how to build this up. So let's see what we're doing here. So in this example, I have a page with some variables, text 1, date 1, number 1, the name of the trust, the date of the trust, the age that the common trust terminates for minors. None of this is going to make any real sense for real documents. I'm just trying to show some examples of the type of variables that can be pushed over as part of this integration. So each of these will have a name, will have a type. We have a whole bunch of different, there's a bunch of different question types in Gavel. And rolling down, we have the client name, which is text, and the client phone number, which is text as well. So a couple of just variables. Second page here, I have my short-term guardians. So these can be set up linked to roles you assign in DecisionVault, and then DecisionVault will remember your choices on how you're going to push this over. So we'll get to show you exactly how that works in a moment. But in Gavel here, I can say it's my short-term guardian 1, name, phone number, short-term guardian 2, name and phone number, and number 3. So next page, we've added a repeating item. DecisionVault supports Gavel repeating items. And what happens here is I say I have a child. The child will have a first name, a middle name, a last name. And each of these are variables. And then as part of the integration, you can push 1 contact into this, 2 contacts into this, 5 contacts into this. Like you don't have to do this numbering of contacts. So you build that up here. And then before you can use the DecisionVault, we have to do some mapping. We'll get to that in a moment when I get to DecisionVault. And then finally, something you can do in Gavel that will work together with DecisionVault is do stuff like this, right? Are we going to include this clause or that clause? Yes, no questions. These can get mapped to yes, no questions in DecisionVault, and then everything is just linked up together. So one thing about that I forgot on the repeating item, there's a setting here where you can say ask an initial question. And Gavel will ask, are there any children? Yes, no. And that's a useful question if the client is filling in Gavel directly. But if you're going to use the DecisionVault integration, don't use that. Just keep it off, because otherwise we will not be able to push all the contacts over. So ask initial question, just leave that off if you're planning to use DecisionVault integration to fill these repeating items. All right, so now I have this workflow. It has a set of questions, a set of variables, and now I can use those to build up a document, right? So I have a document here. I have the Gavel document tagger. I can load in what my different variables are. And you can see I already have put in a couple of them. So for instance, here the client, I have a simple variable, client name, and then it can get inserted. And the phone number, I can do the client phone number. I can make it uppercase. I can capitalize the first letter. So there's different ways to slice and dice this. The rest of the information here is already filled in. This is how Gavel can handle the repeating items. So it can repeat this list of children. In this case, it's going to turn into a very ugly list. I'm sure that in the Gavel help center, you can find more info on how to exactly put these fields together so that they look nice. And then my clauses here. So to show how you can make a certain phrase conditional on, for instance, the number of children, or show a paragraph when I have my include clause B is yes. I'm going to insert that as a condition, and now I'm going to do a whole bunch of B's, right? So we'll do that. So the first time you build up a document, if it hasn't been linked yet to the workflow, you have to go to Gavel, and under output documents, you can upload that document. Then to follow, when you're making changes to the document, like I just did, you can replace the document in Gavel right from here. So this is now uploaded and changed over. So let's jump into DecisionVault. So in DecisionVault, in the integrations, so the Gavel integrations, I will have to map that repeating item. That only has to happen for repeating items. All the other variables, that'll just work straight away. But the repeating items, we have to tell DecisionVault what to do with that. So I already had set up some of these. So here, for a given workflow, I can pull the workflow info, and it shows the repeating items under that workflow. Today, we only support mapping these repeating items onto contacts. In the future, we might do assets, but for the time being, it's only contacts. And then it pulls in these attributes you've set up in Gavel, and that can be a text field or a date field. And then here in DecisionVault, I can map that to some data points that are related to a contact. If it's the address, the phone number, or the email, DecisionVault will pull in the first address or phone number or email. If a client or a contact has multiple, it cannot push multiple. It'll just pick the first one. So let's wire this up. I'm going to do the first name. I'm going to do the address street and the address city. There we go. So now this is mapped. So now the tool will know what to do when it comes time to running this. So before we do that, let's go over how we got this data into DecisionVault, right? So the client will have worked through the questionnaire. They've entered their contacts. They've told you about themselves, about their children, answered any planning questions, listed out their assets, and submitted it to you. And now when we look at that matter, I have a whole bunch of contacts already, and I have answers on the questionnaire that I might be able to use, or you wanted to use. And one other place to pull information from is the design sheet. So I have a couple of example Gavel questions here. So these I'm going to use in a moment when I use the integration. And that's the short-term guardian. As we remember in the workflow, I set up short-term guardian 1, 2, and 3. So here I can decide who's going to be the list of the short-term guardians. So let's say we first have Frank, and then Victor, and then Peter. There we go. I can build up another list of people, let's say next of kin. So this is a group of people box. So this I can as well use to fill in the repeatable items field in Gavel. And here are my clauses. So we're going to include clause A and not clause B, right? So when you put this into practice, you could have this in your design sheet, whether that's for an estate planning matter or for a probate matter, and you can make decisions on who's going to be in which role, a list or a group of people, these kind of clauses to include or not, other questions to fill in, either text or number or date, like the signing date or the name of the trust. Those are also in here. So now when I have filled that in and I go into Gavel here, I can select my workflow. And as you can see, it has remembered a whole bunch of things or answers already because I tested this before. And DecisionVault will remember the choices you made the last time. So for the name and the trust, I'm mapping that to a question and answer from either the questionnaire or from the design sheet. In this case, I can use the name and the trust from the design sheet, and it's there, Magical Unicorn Trust. I can do the date of the trust. I can find the signing date as an answer on the design sheet, etc. Rolling down the client name, I have a specific person, the client or the client's spouse, and that makes it that when I open this for the next matter, DecisionVault will already automatically know who to pick for the client. And the same is true for these roles. So I've assigned Frank, Victor, and Peter into these short-term guardian roles. If I go back out to my design sheet and I change this up to say, instead of Frank, Victor, Peter, it's going to be first Peter. Read. There we go. First Peter, then Frank, and then Victor. So when I now pull the fields in again, DecisionVault will automatically pull that in. Peter, Frank, Victor, right? So like I don't have to make other selections here. It's just automatic. And then these ones are new because I just added those in the workflow, including clause A and clause B. Well, those are on the design sheet, so I can map those from there. Question and answer, design sheet, clause B, no. And on the children, here from the last time I ran this, it remembered like the next of kin interested party group that I built up here. And then it pulled in all the people that are selected there. I can also say I want to send the clients, or I want to send the children, or I just want to make some kind of manual selection of people. So you have lots of choices here, or just one role altogether. So all the successor trustees, for instance. And those, when you do that, they will come through in order. So number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, they get sent to Gavel in order of appearance in their roles. In this case, we're going to do the children. So I have all these selections. I can process the template. It pushes that into Gavel. And now here I am, right? So I have my variables. These were just the simple variables, the name of the client, name of the trust. My short-term guardians, based on the selection that I made. A list of the repeating items, the 3 children. And then I have these 2 clauses, yes and no. So all these answers are here. So when I now continue, now the tool can, or Gavel will process this into a document. So when I run that here, now I have John Peter Smith, I have the Magical Unicorn Trust, I have the 3 short-term guardians, I have my children, all 3 of them. And it's interesting, I have both the A's and the B's. So I have to see, I'll go take a look what's going on there, why that is included. It should not be, but that's how it works. If I go back into DecisionVault and I change things around and I run this again, it'll push over the variables. And the final one, I'll check out why these BBBs show up, because it shouldn't, because I said no. All right, that's how you set up Gavel and DecisionVault. Thank you.